Hello, everybody. I'm Jay. My pronouns are they, them, or any pronoun that is based on good intention and respect. And I am the Communications and Research Director at Mothering Justice. Thanks for joining us for our very first Mama Wire Live show. Mama Wire Live is Mothering Justice's monthly video series that aims to inform you of the latest updates on U.S. policy and politics by centering on the needs of mothers of color in America. Let us know in the comments the state and city you're from so we can update you on what's going on in the world of policy and politics in your city. So, for those of you who are new to Mothering Justice, we are a national Black woman led social justice nonprofit based in Detroit, Michigan, that empowers mothers of color to advocate for better U.S. policy and laws on behalf of themselves and their families on the local, state, and federal level. At Mothering Justice, we understand that mothers of color in America definitely deserve better. And I'm sad to say, for the most part, America isn't really giving what it's supposed to be gave when it comes to justice for Black, Brown, and Indigenous people in America. But Mothering Justice is here to change that. Now, I know most of y'all are aware of America's track record of implementing racist and misogynistic laws and policies. And if you don't, you should probably brush up on your critical race theory. But we'll talk more on that later in another episode. Nonetheless, Mothering Justice is here to work with and empower you, our community, our mamavists, elected officials, and our partner organizations to advocate for U.S. policies that aim to end injustices of people of color as a result of systemic racism and misogyny. So, the foundation of our work is centered on a set of policy issues that impact mothers of color in America called our Mama's Agenda. These issues include access to quality and affordable childcare, reproductive justice, which includes quality maternal health care and abortion rights, equitable paid leave and earned paid sick time policies, and equitable basic needs policies. If you want to learn more about who we are, please visit our website at motheringjustice.org to check us out and join our movement in Mothering Justice in America. Now that you're all caught up on who Mothering Justice is, what we do, and what Mama Wire Live is, let's get into it. All right, so first things first, happy Black History Month, y'all. So, with Mothering Justice being a Black woman-led organization, as I mentioned earlier, you know we celebrate Black Excellence 365 around here. And like our favorite Issa Rae said, we rooting for everybody Black. But for the sake of tradition, make sure you're following us on social media to check out the Black women we have featured for Black History Month. Next up for our federal updates, if you haven't heard already, President Biden is set to appoint the very first Black woman Supreme Court justice. Isn't that like exciting? Like that's so lit. So according to CNN, Biden has met with 3 potential Supreme Court nominees, and they are Ketanji Brown Jackson, Leandra Kruger, and J. Michelle Childs. At Mothering Justice, we believe when Black women win, we all win. And, you know, America has been a country for a little over 240 years, so it's definitely been a long time coming for this. We are super excited to finally see a Black woman on the Supreme Court justice for the first time, especially during Black History Month. All right, so next up, we have some state updates. Now, if you live in Michigan, we have an exciting policy update to share with you. So you're definitely going to want to pay attention to this. So, have you heard of Tampon Tax? The Tampon Tax is a policy that adds sales tax to all menstrual products, including pads or Diva cups. So, shout out to you if you use a Diva cup. But they tax these things as non-essential items. So, did you know that as of today, period products are subject to a state sales tax in 30 of 50 of the United States, despite efforts to ban the tax countrywide? Now, can someone make that make sense? Like how messed up is it that women and people who have periods have had to pay taxes on such an essential item for basic needs? I don't know. Well, fortunately, the tampon tax in Michigan has been eliminated. Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed a bipartisan package into law that eliminates sales tax on menstruation products. Let's see what Governor Whitmer had to say about that. And quote, any dollar, any dime that we don't have to spend on things that are absolutely essential is money that stays in people's pockets or could go towards things like rent or childcare. And that's something that's really important. So we are definitely excited about that. So moving on to our local updates. The city of Detroit, Michigan will be having their State of the City address from Mayor Duggan on March 9th. Connect with us online to learn more about where to watch that. All right, y'all. So now that we have these updates out the way, let's get into the next topics we'll discuss on Mama Wire Live today. First up, we have our Government Affairs and Policy Manager, Tatiana Amalo, who's here to arm us with some policy knowledge during our Policy Corner. She'll be discussing updates about reproductive justice and how you can take action with us, Mothering Justice, for our annual State of the Mama event and more. Then, after that, we will have Aisha Wells, our paid leave and earned paid sick time organizer, to give us some knowledge on our Mama's Agenda item of the day, which is paid leave and earned paid sick time. If you didn't know, now you know that the FMLA anniversary was on February 5th. And unfortunately, the Build Back Better Act is stuck in the Senate due to heartless Republicans and one man in West Virginia named Senator Joe Manchin. Joining Aisha will be our amazing panelist, member of the Senate, Erica Geis, and State Director Kelly Garrett of Caring Action. You are definitely going to want to stick around for that because Aisha and our expert panelists will be giving us more details about these updates during their segment. And finally, if you love basketball and bringing justice to women of color in America, then stick around to learn more about how you can support Mothering Justice by joining us for our Detroit Pistons Women Empowerment fundraiser game on March 9th as they face the Chicago Bulls. All right, so without further ado, I'd now like to introduce Tatiana for our Policy Corner updates. Hey, Tatiana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Jay?
I'm good, thanks. I'm
Good.
definitely excited to have you on.
Yes, and thank you for inviting me, and welcome to everyone that's tuning in. I'm Tatiana, the Government Affairs and Public Policy Manager for Mothering Justice. So some of you may know me from Policy Talks with Tati. For those of you who don't, Policy Talks with Tati is our new policy series where I discuss policy, political topics that will empower you to take action on policies that matter to you on a local, state, and federal level. Our first episode will be a short overview of our executive branch. I'll explain who they are, what they do, and how their decisions impact your lives. So be sure to check it out on Instagram. And now to some quick policy updates in our state of Michigan. Jay already did a wonderful job going over some of the key ones. Another one is earlier this month, Governor Whitmer recently approved more funding to ensure Michigan families have access to food. So families who are receiving nutritional assistance through their Bridge card will receive an additional $95 monthly, even if they're already receiving their maximum payment. These benefits will be added to your Bridge card directly without any further necessary action. And this is really welcome news to Michigan families who should not be going hungry as we see the cost of food rising quickly with ongoing inflation. And as Jay mentioned, in Michigan has finally repealed its tampon tax. So Michigan now joins 13 other states that no longer tax people who menstruate for their basic needs. The estimated saving costs for Michiganders, around $4,000 over the course of their lifetime. This policy is an important step in our fight for reproductive justice. This is especially critical because across the nation, we are seeing our rights being stripped. Which now leads me to discuss what's going on in our country, and we'll start in Florida, where after only 6 hours of debate, the Florida House passed an abortion bill that limits abortions to 15 weeks, down from 24 weeks. The Reducing Fetal and Infant Mortality Bill is now on the Florida Senate's Appropriations Committee agenda, which means it's up for discussion. If it passes through the Republican-controlled Senate, it will be sent to Governor DeSantis' desk. He has already voiced his support for the anti-choice bill, which means it will likely be signed into law. And of course, we are not surprised. This bill is especially egregious because legislators removed exceptions for rape, incest, and human trafficking. This is a severe violation of our human rights and our ability to choose what's best for our bodies and our lives. Unfortunately, this bill has wider implications for the southern region of the United States. Because many states bordering Florida have stricter abortion laws, people often travel to Florida to seek abortion care and access. Nearly 90% of American counties are already without a single abortion provider, and 27 cities have become abortion deserts because people who live there must travel 100 miles or more to reach a provider. If this bill passes through the Florida Senate, these numbers will be higher, making Florida one of 26 states that are attempting to end abortion access this year alone if Roe v. Wade is overturned. The constitutionality of this bill hinges on the Supreme Court's decision in the Mississippi case, Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, over the Gestational Age Act. In 2018, Mississippi passed a law called the Gestational Age Act, which prohibits all abortions with few exceptions after 15 weeks. Jackson Women's Health Organization, the only licensed abortion facility in the entire state of Mississippi, sued the state to contest the law. The Supreme Court heard this case December 1st, and a decision is expected early this summer. This decision could overturn Roe v. Wade. If the Supreme Court sides with the state of Mississippi, this all but means that states across the country can begin and continue to ban abortions, including Florida and Texas's restrictive abortion laws. So this speaks to the importance of Biden's upcoming nomination for our nation's first Black woman and our country's highest court of law, the Supreme Court. We need a Supreme Court justice who understands our issues and perspectives and who will be a champion for our justice and liberation. But all hope is not lost. Last September, the House of Representatives passed the Women's Health Protection Act. On Monday, February 28th, this coming Monday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is bringing this bill to a vote. If passed, this bill will protect the right to abortion through the United States, make it unlawful for state politicians to ban abortions, and protect us against unnecessary state abortion restrictions that we're seeing pop up in states like Texas, Mississippi, and now Florida. However, this bill does face an uphill battle in the Senate, where the Democratic 50-50 majority has proved to be a major issue in all of our progressive policy campaigns, like the BBB that Jay mentioned earlier. And all of this news is coming on the heels of a new alarming CDC report on maternal mortality in the United States. This recently published CDC report revealed that not only have maternal mortality rates risen in our country, making it the highest level in the last 50 years, but the rates of Black maternal mortality have risen the highest. Across the United States, Black women are now 3 times more likely to die from childbirth complications compared to white women. America already has the worst maternal mortality rates in the industrialized world. This report shows that we are regressing as a nation and critically failing to protect Black women. We need to make sure that the people we elect to represent us put our health, safety, and care at the top of their priority list, which leads to my last update on what's happening across the country. Midterm elections. Midterm election campaigns are gearing up, and there are some tight races that could impact what Congress looks like moving forward. In the coming months, many states will be holding primary elections to decide who will be the candidates representing the Democratic and Republican parties in their states. Democrats hold a slim majority in the House and an even smaller one in the Senate. As it stands, Republicans only need to gain 5 seats to gain control of the House. In the Senate, Democrats need to defend 14 seats, 6 of which could easily sway red. So in future episodes, we will do a deeper dive into some of these states. But for now, some key races to watch will take place in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. All of these states will have a tight race between Democratic and Republican candidates. So if you know anyone in those states, or if you live in those states, make sure that you are ready to vote. Voting ensures that we are electing folks who will represent our interests and needs so that we don't lose our access to abortions, safe healthcare, and our basic human rights and dignity. In Michigan, we are doing our part to protect birthing people from similar policies. Together with Birth Detroit, Mothering Justice hosted our first State of Birth Justice Town Hall in early February. Advocates, parents, midwives, doulas, and mamas from across the state joined us in discussing the barriers to birth equity we face and our vision for birth justice in Michigan. In our discussion, we uncovered what we already know about the state of birth justice in Michigan. There's a lack of access, there's a lack of coverage, there's a lack of systems to measure or account for human rights violations, lack of information on birthing choices, and a lack of ability to choose the best option for you. We want to change that, and we would love and we need your support to do so. Our next convening will be April 2nd at Spotlight Detroit, as well as an option for folks to attend virtually. Look out for our save the date. We will discuss what our plan is for addressing these policy barriers and how you can be a part of the movement for birth equity and justice in Michigan. And finally, the State of the Union is next week, where President Biden will be addressing America. Make sure you join us in live tweeting with us Tuesday, March 1st at 9 p.m. Following the State of the Union, Mothering Justice will be hosting the State of the Mama, where we will be responding to the president's address, highlighting how the policies have failed to protect mamas of color, and going into depth about policy issues that matter to you. So please join us Tuesday, March 8th at 6 p.m. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Back to you, Jay.
All right. Thank you so much, Tatiana, for that amazing and insightful Policy Corner update. We apologize if there was a little bit of hiccup there. We had some technical difficulties, but we're back, thankfully. All right. So next up, we have Aisha for our Mama's Agenda item of the day discussion. Hi, Aisha. How are you doing today?
You.
I'm good, thanks. So we're definitely excited for this panel you have today and to learn more about how we can take action on paid leave and earn paid sick time.
Yes, I'm excited too. Shout out to Mother Justice for our first episode. Yay!
Woo woo.
Super excited about that. So thank you all for tuning in tonight on this wonderful Thursday evening. My name again is Aisha Wells, and I am the paid family leave and earned pay sick time organizer at Mothering Justice, which is one of our key Mama's Agenda issues that we focus on here. So a little bit about what pay leave is and earned pay sick time. So oftentimes people kind of use the words interchangeably, but they're actually two totally different things. There are other states that have both sick time and paid family leave. So in Michigan, what we have here is a sick time policy. We do not, in fact, have a paid leave policy. And so the difference is that earned paid sick time is a shorter amount of time, up to 2 weeks, if you get sick, if you catch a cold, if you have the flu, if you have to take a child to like a doctor's appointment for a cold, things like that. That's what earned paid sick time is for. It's something that every state should have. It's something that this country desperately needs. And so in Michigan, we are diligently fighting to restore the original language behind what earned paid sick time really would have meant to so many workers. And so the other part of it is called paid family leave or paid leave. Paid leave is all types of leave. If you have maternity leave, if you have paternity leave, if you have a chronic illness, it is one of those issues that are one of those leaves that you take when you think about dang, I'm trying to take a trip or I'm trying to do like it's all encompassing of all leaves. And if done right, it will economically secure so many households, especially households that have that always have economic injustices. And so we are the only country, one of the only countries in the world that does not have a paid leave policy. So on average, the average global amount of paid leave hours or paid leave time off is 20 weeks, right? Just imagine that. It's unheard of in the US. If you hear someone say 20 weeks, they gasp like, oh my goodness. But there's countries that's their average amount of time. It's a norm. It's what folks think about when they think about taking a leave of absence. It's fully healing. It's fully being able to come back to your whole full self and then being able to not miss a nickel of your time, right? It's being able to sustain your bills and not go into incredible amounts of debt. It's being able to safely and securely care for yourself or a loved one, right? And it's being able to care for a loved one that you signify in your household as your family, as your loved one, right? The government and other people can't tell you what your household is made up of and who is your loved one. Oftentimes, we are taking care of our family members, we are taking care of our nieces. Some of us, our family is our neighbors, right? People who come into our household and help us continue to fully function when we're sick and when we're not well. And so that's what paid leave is. It's encompassing that gold standard of family and being able to have those leaves so you are not broke, right? As a mom, I am a mom. I have a disabled son. And I know exactly what it feels like to be missing hundreds of dollars out of my paycheck. That is crippling. That really, really takes away from what I can do to continue to pay my bills, right? That's me finagling my money after that. That's me going broke, right? And so we shouldn't be facing Americans and anyone with these types of decisions. Should I go to work? Should I care for my family member? That is an awful, awful, horrendous thing to have to choose from. And so that is what paid leave is, and that is what sick time is. So I hope that I've given folks a glimpse or understanding of what the difference between paid leave is and what sick time is. They are both equally important and they are both equally something that we need to have in this state and around this country. So that is my long-winded definition of that. And so it's very popular. It's a nonpartisan issue, right? 82% of voters, including 72% of Republicans and 79% of independents, and 93% of Democrats support a permanent paid leave policy. So we need to get it done, right? COVID-19 has amplified the need for equitable paid leave. How many of us did not have any time off over the past couple years, going into the third year, because your job where you work did not have a paid leave policy? That has to end, and it needs to end today. So that is what we're fighting for. So we will now go into our panel discussion around what paid leave means to other organizations around this country, and go into what State Senator Erica Geis, how our legislators feel around pay leave. So I want to introduce you first to Senator Erica Geis. Has been a huge champion for mother justice. She is a member of the Senate of the 6th District in Michigan. Erica Geis has a proven track record of fighting for Michigan families. Senator Geis previously served 2 terms in Michigan House of Representatives, during which she had served, which she served on the House Standing Committee of Commerce and Trade, Health Policy, and Michigan Competitiveness, a Democratic vice chair, and on that committee, the Workforce and Talent Development and Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. So thank you, Senator Erica, guys, for being with us today. We also have Karen Action here today as well. We have Kelly Garrett with us today. She is the Michigan State Director for Karen Action. Kelly has been working on a Michigan Paid Sick Leave Act for the past 5 years through Mothering Justice, an organization which she has been the board chair since 2015. Kelly passionately believes every sick child and their family should be treated with dignity and respect. And she served on the Family Centered Care Advisory Council at Children's Hospital of Michigan and currently serves on the subsidiary advisory board for community health at St. John Ascension Hospital. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Senator, guys, for being with us this evening. How are y'all
Good to be
doing?
here.
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good.
Awesome. So I know I already kind of gave your bios, but I want to kind of give y'all some space to introduce yourselves and talk about who you are, please. Guys. Senator, guys, who you want to start?
Sure. Thanks, Aisha. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Kelly. It's always great to be with our friends at Mothering Justice and the amazing work that you have been doing, advocating for all of these important issues around our families, our kids, our communities. So, I mean, talking about paid leave, right? That's like the crux of so much. The pandemic really showed us how much, showed, I think, everybody what those of us in this virtual studio room have known for a long time, which is that paid leave. It helps sustain the access to paid leave, the access, whether it's sick leave or whether it's more broader family leave. It is a policy that is so good for every single household, whether you're caring for kids or caring for older seniors. Like a lot of us are in that sandwich generation where we're doing both things, caring for yourself, making sure that you're not getting sick and spreading your germs at work. The pandemic has really shown us how necessary this is to sustain people economically. So it's also an economic justice issue as well as a health policy issue. And it's just common sense. It really feels like it should be common sense. And so I've been working on this since I first joined the legislature as a freshman in the House in 2015. And I have to give a shout out to my colleagues in both chambers at the time. So Senator Chang, who was a rep with me back then, and also Senator Ananek, who was championing it on the Senate side. You know what they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I will always uplift my colleagues who are doing the right thing. So I want to also make sure that we're giving them a shout out as well on helping to move these policies here in the state.
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator, guys. So, Kelly, tell us kind of about yourself and how you're feeling about paid leave as well.
So I'm Kelly Garrett, and I wear tons and tons of hats, as most people know. But right now, the one that I'm finding the most needed is going to be the Care and Action State, being the state director. And that is, Care and Action is an organization that is the advancement of women of color in the political arena, and also, for domestic workers. And one thing that I understand about being a worker, period, the importance of paid leave and the importance of paid sick leave. And just like what Aisha said, I am passionate about it because this was my life for 21 years of taking care of my son and having to leave work, never knowing when you were going to have to leave work. And so when I found out once I got involved with Mothering Justice, that not everyone gets the same type of benefit of being able to care for their loved ones I knew at that time that this is something that I had to be involved with, because no one should have to choose between taking care of your baby, taking care of your mom or your dad or grandmother, grandfather, and then worry about having to go to work. And the one thing with Care in Action, we kind of work, well, not kind of, we work with two sets of people, not just the people that don't get paid leave or paid sick leave. We also work with people that don't have those type of rights, because they don't have a bill of rights, because they are domestic workers. So it's a double-edged sword that I'm working with, and I absolutely, as Aisha knows, that I adore working with Mother Injustice, because I think that more people need to understand that we're all not equal, and it doesn't go just from skin color or race or sort sexual orientation. It goes that we're not equal in the workplace, and that's something that we really need to be focused on. And I know that that's something I'll focus on for the rest of my days. And it always is always good to see you too, Senator. I love being in the same space as you. So thank you for having me too.
Thank you. Thank you both for giving those introductions and how you arrived to this space and why you care about these issues. And so as Jay mentioned earlier, we celebrated the 29th anniversary of FMLA. And so what is FMLA? FMLA is Family Medical Leave of Absence. And one thing that is huge to remember about FMLA is it is not paid. So 29 years later, we are still fighting for some type of paid leave policy. And so um, FMLA has been used over 300 million times to care and heal for our loved ones. For many, unpaid time resulting in financial instability that will affect us for generations. So it's really time for us to level up and pass paid leave, right? So let's get into a couple questions for Senator Geis and Kelly around paid leave, right? So, Kelly, I know that Care in Action is working on the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights. Can you kind of tell us what that is?
So again, like what I was saying earlier, all workers aren't created equally at this point. Our domestic workers, who are going to be your nannies, your housekeepers, your caregivers, um, anyone that is usually are essential workers, don't have the same type of labor protections and regulations as the rest of the workforce. And so, Care in Action in the National Domestic Workers Alliance is working on getting the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights. That way, that they will also have a regulated field, a regulated industry, where they would have the labor protections. They would have structures in place to make sure that pay is equal across the board for everyone. And have those type of protections of, like the sexual harassments, that they have a vehicle to report these type of things. Because the stories that I've heard from people that I know that are caregivers is absolutely horrific. And I was purely shocked when I started working for Care in Action to hear them. And so that also goes in hand with doing the paid sick leave and paid leave, because we look at, for example, a housekeeper who it has to go to work knowing that or knowingly going into a household where someone has COVID, but they can't afford to not go to work, or they're going to lose their job, or they're not going to get paid that day. There does need to be something in place for everyone, not just for the select few. Or the fact of, and this is something that I'm very, very passionate about, is that when you're sick or when your child is sick and you have to choose about going to work, because again, being in a unregulated labor field, you could lose your job, and there's nothing that you could do about it. It's in most places that was, you can't get unemployment also. So no one, again, as I said earlier, needs to choose between going to work, taking care of your kids or your family members, or losing your job because you just don't want to get sick or to make someone else sick. And just last statement is that is what caused me to really stay in this fight, is because there are people out here that have children, have family members that have immune compromised systems, and then people still have to go. They're still going to work, or still sending their sick kids to school, and someone else is sitting next to you. You could devastate them and cause them to be in ICU, and it bothers me intensely that there's no regulation in this particular industry for domestic workers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Um, and so, in saying that, how do you feel like the domestic workers, but and I know you just kind of mentioned that, but kind of like in a nutshell, how would you feel like the Domestic Workers Bill of Rights help in regards to paid leave? Like, what do you see for that?
Because once they receive the same type of, the industry standards for workers, then this
Yeah.
would be in hand that they should also be able to get paid sick leave and paid leave. So it's not even, it's to step one, get the industry regulated and get the labor protections that all other workers get. Then step two is making sure that you have it where all of the people in this particular industry are being paid the same, getting the opportunities to benefits, and again the protections as I talked to before. And then step three is also to make sure that they have opportunities to take part of paid leave, and then with paid sick leave. So this is how we kind of are meshing together, so to speak. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you for sharing that and educating us on what the Domestic Worker Bill of Rights will do for us. Thank you so much. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left, but I definitely want to bring Senator Geis into the conversation more. You've always been, like I mentioned before, a huge champion for mother justice around paid leave issues that affect Black mamas and mamas of color. In what ways do you feel like, not just in Michigan, we know what's going on with the Michigan ledger, and there's a lot of states that kind of resemble what's going on in Michigan around the country. How do you feel like other public leaders and elected officials like yourself can change how we treat the issues that are affecting our country right now?
Thanks, Aisha. That's a really important question because FMLA was created through legislation. It happened to have been the first bill that Clinton signed into law back in '93. And even then, it wasn't adequate, right? And I think that, and actually what we have here in Michigan, the law that came out of the adopt and amend that occurred in 2018 with the ballot proposal, is modeled in many ways FMLA. And FMLA doesn't even cover every worker. And so much to Kelly's point about, you've got an entire class of workers, of the folks doing caregiving and domestic work, who are not covered and don't have these protections. Like, bottom line, you should not need the employer lottery to be able to we shouldn't have to win, I should say, the employer lottery to be able to adequately take care of ourselves and our loved ones without having to make that choice between, do I have a job and keep the roof over my head and the lights on and the heat on and be able to feed my family, or do I not care for myself or my loved ones? These two things shouldn't be in binary opposition to one another. And I think that we need to have more policymakers and lawmakers really work to make economic justice and good health policy come together, so that we can ensure that that there isn't this constant fight and tension between the business universe and the needs of the people who make those businesses actually work, which are their employees. And so I think that's where we need to be nationally. And if we can't get it done nationally, we're still waiting for Build Back Better to happen. And even some of the provisions in that are lowered compromises from what folks really wanted when it comes to family leave and access to care. But it means that on the state level and even on the local municipality levels, we need to be able to figure out how we make these things happen for workers. So I think we need a full court press, so to speak, and a concerted effort on making sure that we have these policies in place, that we're putting these policies in place that that end up allowing people to care for themselves. This past year, my mom, during coronavirus, my mom had cancer, and I was be able to go with her to her appointments. And I'm going to share this story. Her radiologist at one point was trying to allay her fears, and mentioned that folks come in for their radiation treatment on their lunch hour. And I was just like, it's not because this is fun and they want to just go back to work. It's because they don't have paid leave. Like, that's what, because they still feel horrible, but they have to go back to work because they don't have that time built in to be able to fully care for themselves. And I think that a lot of people frame these issues around moms and parents and those of us with kids, forgetting things like, I think this is why 2018 was so pivotal, because we really got people to understand it's more than just being about moms and kids and maternity leave or paternity leave. It's really about being able to, take your aged parent to their appointments. And that can be a chunk of the day, right? A chemo session can last 5 hours. For folks who are on dialysis, for seniors who have no other way to get to their appointment than their, adult child or their adult niece or nephew, that means, like, you're not going to say, "Grandma, I can't take you." You really don't want to say that. But if you can't get those hours, you end up having to choose. And people shouldn't have to choose between caring for family, however you define family, and keeping that income coming in. So we need to work hard to make sure that we are finding solid, sensible, good policy ways to ensure that we are protecting the people who are in our workforce and their loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So really fast, thank you for sharing that with us and being vulnerable and sharing how you felt about what you were going through with your mom. You were still fighting with us, so we still appreciate you being able to do that work. We do have one question from someone. How can someone get involved with this fight and voice thoughts to the elected officials?
I can take that. So, at least in Michigan, stateside, all of our information is public. So every bill, every resolution, every committee, both House and Senate sessions. So if you go to the website, it's my favorite website to tell people about, is legislature.mi.gov. And the first page that will come up is a little page that has a search bar in it, and you can plug bill numbers in, and it'll take you to the bills and the whole different whatever bill number you pop in. And you can see the history of bills, the committee it's been referred to, and if you're on a mobile device, it's at the bottom. If you're on a desktop or a laptop, the menu is on the left-hand side, but you can click. You can see everything from the state constitution to all the MCLs to the committees and who's on which committees and how to contact them. And you can follow committees. You can also sign up to follow bills as they move through the process. So in short, that is like your one-stop shopping for being able to follow what's going on in the state legislature, and how to contact all 148 of us when you combine both chambers. And so that is a really good way. So if you are looking specifically for a bill to follow, And you can follow that bill. And I'm not giving you a bill number yet for paid leave, because we were going to introduce it and then we waited. So there's some other stuff that we're working on, but Mothering Justice, Aisha will have the bill number once we do have our bill. But there is some hopefully exciting stuff coming up. We're going to make sure that we're working to make sure that our paid leave policies here are much more robust and really fill the gaps that have been made by what was adopted in 2018. So legislature.mi.gov.
Thank you. And we also put it in the chat for folks to see. If anybody has questions around how you can learn about different policies, I also use that site as well. And you can also ask Tati. She is at Mothering Justice, and she is here to answer any other questions you have about policy. Tati will explain it in a way that makes you feel great when you're done understanding. She's definitely helped me understand different types of policies. So thank you for that. Kelly Garrett had to pop off, but we appreciate Senator Geis and Kelly Garrett being with us today. As always, we appreciate your work and how much you have stood with Mothering Justice over the years, and we appreciate all of your hard work, and even the days that we're picking up kids and moving from place to place and all the things. We just thank you so much for all of that. And I will pass it back to Jay. And thank you all for joining us this evening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aisha, Senator Erica Geis, and Kelly Garrett from State in Action for that awesome Mama's Agenda item of the day talk on paid leave. All right. So I hope you all have been paying attention so that you can take action on joining us at Mothering Justice by advocating for better paid leave policies. As I mentioned earlier, make sure you check out our social media and our website, motherinjustice.org, so you can learn more about how you can join our movement in mothering justice in America. And finally, don't forget to join us on March 9th for our fundraiser with the Detroit Pistons. You can find more information on that by visiting our Instagram and clicking on the link in the bio. With that being said, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for our very first Mama Wire Live. Tune in next time in March, where we will be celebrating Women's History Month and also giving you more policy updates. Until next time, love, peace, and justice, and I hope you all have a great evening. See you all soon.